Thanks for tuning into BoxingWave. I read an interesting article the other day on BoxingNews24.com. I'll post the link to the article in the description for this video. It was called Unfairness in Boxing. And basically, in a nutshell, they gave examples of the lack of integrity in the boxing sanctioning bodies, okay, the organizations. And they gave several examples, they gave good examples, and it's right, and I wanted to speak on this a long time ago because everyone speaks on the Cold War, everyone speaks on the commissions and the promoters and the boxers ducking, and no one speaks on the sanctioning bodies. They're part to blame for a lot of fights that are made, okay, because they can order fights to happen or force you to vacate the title. If you have a mandatory or a number one ranking contender that's been, well deserving of their title shot for a while, a lot of fighters never get their chance, and before they get their chance, they might lose a fight that will set them back, and it's unfair. But, let me speak on some of the examples they gave. Like Marco Antonio Rubio. Now, we all know he's fighting Gennady Golovkin, right? But he's been the number one contender for the WBC title for a while now. Okay, he was the contender back in the past before he fought and lost to Kelly Pavlik. But now he's back at number one. He has been, even when Sergio Martinez had the title, before losing it to Cotto. And Martinez never gave him his shot. Okay? Not saying that Martinez was completely ducking him, because Martinez did fight some good fighters. He never really had an easy fight. But he never got his shot. And instead, he's fighting Gennady Golovkin. And it's funny because the number one contender for Gennady Golovkin's title, the WBA title, I believe they said that it was Jared Fletcher, the guy that just lost to Daniel Jacobs. Okay? These guys are not popular fighters, but they worked their way to get to the number one spot just to not get a title shot. Just to sit there and fight the who's in boxing and a bunch of journeymen. And I didn't do a video prediction of Rubio yet against Golovkin, but basically Rubio has been fighting and beating a lot of journeymen lately. He has some good credible wins in there, but very few. But he should have gotten a title shot. And Cotto beat Sergio Martinez, and he doesn't really have any interest. He never had any interest of fighting Rubio neither. That was a name that people wanted to see him fight. People wanted to see him try to unify the titles against Golovkin. And the only name that I've seen thrown around so far for Cotto is Tim Bradley, a welterweight, and Andy Lee. Okay? So, they gave several examples. They gave, they spoke on, in the article, they spoke of Sam Solomon fighting Jermaine Taylor, who's ranked number 15. Why is Jermaine Taylor getting a shot, at the title? At middleweight. I know he's won a few fights here lately, but he's been fighting journeymen, I think of some examples off the top of the head. You got Keith Thurman. He's been the number one of the WBA for a while. Well, when is he going to get his title against Floyd? When is he going to get a good fight against anyone? Okay, as someone else that I know, Lucas Matisse. He's like the number one or number two in every sanctioning body in the junior welterweight division. And when is he going to get his title shot? Okay, either a rematch against Danny Garcia, a rematch against Lamont Peterson, okay, a shot at Chris Algieri. Well, he won, and he's now fighting Pacquiao. So when is he going to get a shot? I mean, he's the number one or number two in every sanctioning body. Okay? But there's a few fights that I like, You got the Kell Brook and Sean Porter fight that just passed. They ordered Sean Porter to fight Kell Brook. I mean, Kell Brook has been he's earned his shot a long time ago. Okay, he was supposed to fight Devin Alexander back when he had it. All right, and that was a good fight. That was one of the most important fights of the year, in my opinion. That and the Arislandi Lara and Canelo fight. I like the Peter Quillen fight. I know a lot of people don't know who Matt Korobov is, but I like the fight with Peter Quillen and Matt Korobov. I think Korobov is pretty good. Okay, I know he's a top ranking. I believe, what title is Peter Quillen? I think Peter Quillen is the WBO champ, I believe. Okay, he's getting his shot. He's getting Korobov is getting his shot against Peter Quillen. I like that fight. I know a lot of people, the fans. See, that's the thing. You got to blame the fans too, because the fans just want the names. The fans are just going for the big names. For the most part. A lot of people, you think Peter Quillen. Listen, I'm one of those guys. I've been wanting Peter Quillen and Danny Jacobs to fight for a long time now. I've been wanting those two to fight for a long time. They're both from Brooklyn, and it makes sense. I want to see the fight in Barclays, and I'm a victim of this too, But Danny Jacobs doesn't get the shot over Matt Korobov. Korobov is undefeated. He deserves a shot at Peter Quillen. He's finally getting it, and I'm glad they put the fight together. This is the fight that, what's it called? Jay-Z's Promotions won the purse bid over. Okay, so I think it's a good fight. But, there's situations like the Lomachenko situation, I know a lot of you guys on here are Lomachenko fans, but, he gets his title shot in his second fight, professional fight, and then he loses that shot, and then he gets another title shot anyway in the next fight. Like, they're going to force him to be a champion. They forced him to be a champion. Okay, because of his amateur background. Now, we all are a victim for wanting fights, We all don't sit here and go by the rankings and who's the number one contender and who's the mandatory. Sometimes we just are not interested because some of the mandatories and some of the number one contenders are not as good as the other fighters that we want to see. Or even if they are, we as the fans just want to see certain fights. But there's a line that has to be drawn, all right, where, okay, we can make a big fight like a Cotto and a Canelo, but, the fans want to see that fight, but at the same time, you got to put in your work at the division. You got to give the guys that are the number one contenders their shot. They can't go years with fighting. They shouldn't have to go years with fighting just journeymen until they get their title shot while they're still at the number one spot. The Rubio and Golovkin fight, Rubio is not even ranked in the WBA. He's not even ranked in the top 10, but he's fighting Golovkin. Now, it's not a bad fight, but it doesn't make sense. They're just making random fights. And then I just saw that Cotto is being forced to fight the winner of Golovkin and Rubio, which is good. So it's times where the sanctioning bodies do step in and make decisions, okay, which is good. But they're not doing enough of it. They're not doing enough. And then at times they're letting matches fly and they're ordering fighters that make, like, I love the Russell and Lomachenko fight, don't get me wrong. The fight itself, I love it. But should either one of them be fighting for a title? No, they shouldn't be. There's other fighters that put in their work. It's unfair. And that's why they called it unfairness in boxing. We need more integrity in the sanctioning bodies. They got to make up their mind. You can't force two total random fighters to fight each other for a title when there's other guys that are ranked higher that's been fighting longer. It doesn't make sense. You can make the fight. They can make you listen. The promoters can make whatever fight they want to make. Okay, it doesn't even have to be for a title. But when it comes to the titles, this is why I said Danny Garcia is sitting here saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter who I fight. As long as I put a good show for the fans." That's that promoter talk. That's that new promoter boxer talk. I gotta give a good fight for the fans. Like everybody's doing the Floyd Mayweather thing. I want to give a good fight for the fans. As long as I look impressive. No, it matters who you fight. You should be fighting the top fighters. If you're the best, if you're the lineal champ, you should be fighting the best fighters in the division. Okay? Now, you deserve stay busy fights. Yes, if you fight 4 or 5 times a year. But if you're fighting twice a year, you don't need to be fighting no Rod Salkas. And this is not all about that, but you guys get where I'm going with this. The sanctioning bodies needs more integrity. They need to step in. They need to learn how to, all right, the promoters, they're going to do their thing, and they're going to protect their fighters. The promoters, the Al Haymans, they're going to protect their fighters. They're going to put 2 fighters that should be fighting on the same card, and then let them fight a lower skilled opponent first, or a journeyman first, before they think about matching them up for the next card on Showtime or HBO. So there needs to be a line. I mean, the fans, of course, give the fans some fights that we want to see. But at the same time, you got to let some of these guys that work their way to get there fight. Even if they lose the fight, it doesn't matter. If they lose, it's respected. If Peter Quillen, people probably don't respect Quillen for fighting Korobov, because a lot of you probably never heard of him. But this is a good fight. So, certain fans are going to respect it. Many might not respect it. But at least the right thing is being done. Okay? So I just wanted to speak on that. I want you guys, to respond and give your thoughts on it. Where should we draw the line as boxing fans? And, what should the sanctioning bodies do? If you guys got better examples, throw some of the other examples in there of fights that should have been made or shouldn't be made for title fights and stuff like that. I guess if you guys got better examples, just throw them in there. It was a good article. I'll post it in the description, so look out for that article, all right? Peace.